The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
To scratch and major itch. So enjoy your fruity pebbles, you yabba dabba bitch.
The God Almighty! They've killed him! And CM Punk, and I am the voice of the voiceless.
Be the man. You gotta beat the man. Woo woo woo. You know it. I got okie doke by the
Live from the Pro Wrestling Report studios in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is Monday Night Meltdown with your hosts, Damian Nelson and David Hero.
I'm proud to say we're doing things the Vince McMahon way.
That's the bottom line. What? Cause Stone Cold said so.
Bringing you all the latest news and views from professional wrestling. Monday Night Meltdown is on the air.
Welcome, fans all over the world, to the Pro Wrestling Report, and welcome to Monday Night Meltdown. Damian Nelson coming to you here with David Hero. And wow, David, what a night on Raw tonight on the USA Network from Kansas City. WWE put the machine, if you will, in not just gear, but in fifth gear tonight. The Undertaker returns to WWE. No videos, no hoopla, no hype this year. The Undertaker back in World Wrestling Entertainment. Seemingly, he wants a rematch with Triple H at WrestleMania. And seemingly, Triple H is not interested.
Well, why would Triple H be interested? He's already lost to the guy twice. I mean, and why is Undertaker challenging the guy that he's already beat twice?
That is
interesting. I mean, we knew it was coming. We knew it was on its way. But they need to give us a little more of a backstory as to why they want to go 3 times.
Yeah, and specifically why, as you just said, why would The Undertaker want another match with Triple H? Maybe the story that was told last year at WrestleMania, maybe the fact that Triple H was the first person, at least at WrestleMania, to cause The Undertaker to have to be carted out from his matchup. Maybe in that regard, he feels he has something to prove.
Very interesting. Very interesting. But, what's more interesting is Undertaker's hair. I mean, last I saw, his head was shaved bald, and now it looks like he's got, something going on. I don't know.
You remember Chia Pets, right? You could just rub that stuff on your head, and it'll just grow like, trees.
Oh, Chia Pets. I forgot about Chia Pets.
Chia. A shocking turn of events as The Undertaker returns tonight. We're going to get feedback from the entire Pro Wrestling Report broadcast team in just a few minutes as we go to the Raw Roundabout. We're also going to be talking about last night's Royal Rumble. We'll go roundabout with the Rumble as well. We've got some feedback to share with you that you've given to us on our Facebook page. Linda's going to handle that later on. We'll talk about Smackdown Impact and then finally go into the phone zone. So we won't be entering the phone zone until later in the broadcast. Just so you know, not till around 11:15 Central Time, so that we can get to all the content that we have tonight right here on Monday Night Meltdown. I am very surprised, David Hero, that Triple H and The Undertaker stood toe-to-toe in the ring tonight. And what really was significant that didn't happen during that whole segment was we never really got Triple H's answer or his firing or retaining of John Laurinaitis. Triple H was about to wish him the best in his future endeavors, and then The Undertaker's music hit. So what's next for John Laurinaitis? It seems as if now this changes that whole scenario, because Triple H said he has been told by the board that he has a vote of confidence. He can come back in. He can be general manager again if he chooses to, whenever he wants to. But now a little bit of controversy, I guess you can call it, between him and The Undertaker in that potential general manager role.
Well, I mean, Triple H said that all of his unfinished business was taken care of, and now he can go ahead and, be the general manager of Raw. Well, apparently, Undertaker, feels otherwise. And Johnny Ace is going to stay the Raw general manager at least through WrestleMania. Why not? I mean, the guy's done a great job. Originally, we all were sick of it, boring, bland. They all made fun of him. He was never a star. He's one of the biggest stars on Raw right now, and he's doing a fantastic job of it.
He has taken, and what I mean by that is with consistency In delivery, he has become one of the top heels of the company, and his clumsiness and his awkwardness is what makes him great. And really, it's a dynamic story that they're telling with John Laurinaitis, because the fact of the matter is, he is indeed the guy that hires and fires in WWE. He is the one that makes those phone calls. So with this smart audience that is out there now, it makes that role even more dynamic, and I think he's done a tremendous job. And I would agree with you, David. At first, not intrigued at all by it. As a matter of fact, it was cringeworthy at times, but it has turned out to be one of the driving forces behind the success of Raw.
And Johnny Ace has done that. He's helped elevate guys like CM Punk. He's gotten involved when he shouldn't have gotten involved. And he's just a guy that people love to hate. Finally a villain on Monday Night Raw.
Jim Ross, who was notably absent tonight, especially during two tremendous wrestling matchups, just sent out a tweet. Awesome end to Raw. The shocking return of The Undertaker. Business just picked up for WrestleMania 28. Seemingly, the streak lives. David, we've talked about this, and it's a question that will be answered at a later date. 20-0 or 19-1. In the case versus Triple H, I don't see any scenario where it goes to 19-1. But this would be the third time, 17, 27, and now 28, that we will have seen these two go at it. But as you tweeted out earlier, David Hero, boys to men, it really shows how big of stars those two are, just standing again in that ring, even 1 year later.
It is amazing, isn't it? I mean, just the presence they command when they're out there in that ring. I mean, when obviously Taker hasn't been on TV since WrestleMania, and when that gong hit, that place popped. And the amazing thing is, no one knew Taker was there.
Nobody.
There were no pictures of him in airports or at hotels or whatever else. I mean, obviously, he was very well hidden. And what a reaction they got with Undertaker and Triple H tonight. It just goes to show, if you look at how they're building WrestleMania, it's Rock and Cena.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got Triple H and Taker. You bring Chris Jericho back. Wouldn't you say those are like the top 5 guys when you throw in a CM Punk and Sheamus?
Yeah.
Of those top 7 or 8 guys, there's only 2 young kids in there.
Good point.
Punk and Sheamus.
Very good point. Well, we're definitely going to talk more about this developing story over the course of this week's programming and programming leading up to WrestleMania. We are just some 60 days, some 2 months away from WrestleMania, and things are aggressively taking shape because also tonight, in addition to those 2 great wrestling matchups we saw, the end of one of them, which was Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk, saw Chris Jericho come out, and I guess his actions were worth a lot more than his words because there were no words. He went right after CM Punk, and it was a missile launch in that story between those two going into the Elimination Chamber next month and also going into WrestleMania, in my opinion.
Yeah, and for me it's kind of interesting that that's the route they went. I mean, they announced the Elimination Chamber match, and then now is when Jericho jumps on Punk. It's almost like, wow, they have a long way to go, a lot of stuff to do before they even get to WrestleMania in Miami with Punk and Jericho. If that's what their plan is. I mean, it would be nice if they could have kept the 2 of them apart with just Jericho getting in, little shots at Punk along the way. But now they're going to have an Elimination Chamber match with each other leading into WrestleMania. I wouldn't be surprised if Jericho leaves the chamber in Milwaukee as the E champion and then Punk chases him to WrestleMania.
That is a dynamic scenario. And one thing that I noticed tonight, CM Punk said at least twice, if not 3 times, that he was the best wrestler in the world.
If not a dozen times. It was starting to get obnoxious. It was more than just laying the groundwork. I mean, Christ, he damn near built an expressway, he said so often.
But that's those little details that make all the sense.
And please don't take it that I'm bashing Punk. He is being told what to say, but for a guy that has been as creative as he has been on the mic, that just seemed so forced every time he kept saying, I'm the best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. You know what I mean?
Oh, I feel you, Gene. That match between CM Punk and Daniel Bryan made a lot of fans all over the world, especially those who listen to shows like this, excited about wrestling. This coming off the heels of a great matchup between Randy Orton and Dolph Ziggler earlier in the night. And again, two great wrestling matchups, nothing taken away from either of them. But the finish of that match being somewhat ignored, and I'm surprised, David Hero, because it was really the only way they could have finished that matchup between the WWE Champion and the World Heavyweight Champion, because neither man should have won that match.
Well, no, of course not. And, you know, it's amazing that they even had that match. But if Jericho is going to come out there and take claim to the best in the world at what he does, you got to have the two biggest champions on both brands in that match.
Absolutely, and hey, you know, it's almost like we're back to the days where the February pay-per-view is almost a road bump to WrestleMania with all that we saw tonight on Raw. Because if you really dissect it, coming off the Royal Rumble, you've got Sheamus who won that big matchup last night. You've got Randy Orton involved with Wade Barrett. They're going to have a main event matchup on SmackDown this Friday, we learned. You've got the Punk and you've got the Punk and Jericho scenario. You've got the Cena Kane scenario. You've got the Undertaker Triple H scenario. What's going on with Laurinaitis? There's a lot going on the Raw side of things and in WWE in general right now, and the Royal Rumble really was the catalyst for all that to happen because it's almost like a reset type event. We did hear tonight about that pay-per-view in February, which comes to Milwaukee's Bradley Center, who the participants would be. CM Punk will be defending his WWE Championship against Kofi Kingston, Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, R-Truth, and Chris Jericho. And you want to talk about an interesting dynamic mix of talents in one matchup, you got it right there.
Absolutely. And you know what? You got to figure Kofi Kingston just might be thanking Evan Bourne for getting suspended for a second time because he was out there doing jobs as a singles tag team champion, and now he's headlining the Elimination Chamber main event next month on pay-per-view.
That he is, and as we said, that pay-per-view does come to us from Milwaukee. We did also learn from WWE tonight that there will be a Smackdown Chamber match as well. There have been some rumors and reports, including by us, out there that the Elimination Chamber might only be one Elimination Chamber matchup. So Daniel Bryan's going to have some...
Well, there's going to be two chamber matches. You better raise the prices on those tickets for Sweet and Sexy Milwaukee, amigo.
You know, that's a good point. Only a few seats remain. You can join the Pro Wrestling Report team in a suite at the Bradley Center in Milwaukee for the Elimination Chamber event. And I can't wait to see how many of those Milwaukee 316 shirts we're going to see throughout Milwaukee's Bradley Center on February 19th, David.
Well, I'm looking forward to lunch with Cody Rhodes. That's going to be interesting.
Also tonight on Raw, Beth Phoenix destroys Eve in a squash, but really that was only done to get Kane out there, to get him and Cena more actively involved, as Kane came out and was seemingly going to attack Eve in the ring, but John Cena making the save. We saw a good amount of aggression from John Cena tonight. However, much like last night in St. Louis, tonight in Kansas City, nobody cared.
Well,
they booed him out of the building.
I just think the fans are just waiting. They're just sick and tired of waiting. And you know what? The more and more I think about it, we may not see that heel turn. I mean, with the way they push and promote that Be a Star gimmick, boy, I tell you, John Cena may not turn heel. He may just find another way of being a superhero.
He really doesn't need to. It's almost like Daniel Bryan. We talked about this on the post show last night. Daniel Bryan is as much a heel as anybody else right now, yet in his mind, he's not. And that's what's great about his character. John Cena, people talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin when he turned heel, when he was face, blah, 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 blah. But throughout his entire career, he transcended heel and face. And I still remember in 1997 when Vince McMahon stood in front of the television and told us, we're not going to insult your intelligence with good guy versus bad guy. We're going to entertain you. And it's less defined now in the most popular characters in wrestling, whether or not they're a good guy or bad guy, because you could arguably have that point with CM Punk as well. It's who they're pitted up against that makes that determination a lot. But Daniel Bryan doing a very good job in that role. And he had a tremendous matchup tonight with CM Punk, as we talked about earlier. R-Truth, David Hero, on commentary during the matchup between Kofi Kingston and The Miz, which saw Kofi Kingston get a victory. There was a lot of talk about Little Jimmy, and it was almost a psychological warfare game between Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and R-Truth at ringside, because apparently Little Jimmy was there, but Little Jimmy couldn't be talked about, and Little Jimmy was looking right at them, but he wasn't even there.
Yeah, that was a little awkward, wasn't it?
I thought it was tremendous.
What's he referring to? I mean, what's Little Jimmy now?
One could only wonder.
Oh, I'm not wondering. I'm just curious now. But, you know, I mean, boy, R-Truth. Here's another guy. I mean, he's just on fire since he came back from suspension. It's like, you know, they're really working on getting some of these mid-card guys to be upper mid-card. Mm-hmm. And they're definitely going in the right direction with Kofi and R-Truth.
Also on Raw tonight, the matchup between Randy Orton and Dolph Ziggler saw Wade Barrett on a skybox with Josh Matthews. This was very unique. I'm not sure I'd ever seen it before, because Josh Matthews up there sort of almost getting comments from Wade Barrett as the match progressed, which created that distance so they didn't have to touch each other. But it was almost like he was on commentary, but from somewhere else. It really added a dynamic to that matchup where you wanted to pay attention to what was going on. And one thing, as you talk about stars and upper mid-card, if you will, Wade Barrett is no doubt a star at this point.
Oh, well, Wade Barrett, you know, he has a great in-ring presence, and he can talk. And that's, you know, in pro wrestling, it's important to be a good talker to get over with the audience, and he does that. And, you know, now he's, you know, in a program with Randy Orton, one of the top baby faces. Barrett can learn a ton with working from Randy, as well as being one of the top heels. It's a win-win situation for everybody involved, because this is how you get these guys ready, because they're the ones that are taking over the company in the next few years.
I want to welcome everybody in the chat room at blogtalkradio.com/PWR. Lots of discussion going on in there right now, including discussion about Mason Ryan and Rob Terry, whether or not maybe they should be a tag team. That's going to be interesting.
Oh, wait. You know what? To me, that's hilarious.
The powers of pain?
That is a conversation going on in the chat room. And, you know what I mean? It's like, and we get ripped on for not talking about certain things, but that's a topic of discussion.
Continuing discussion on Raw tonight, David Hero. Now, we've known that in the past you've hidden stars like Ken Anderson, X-Pac in your basement. Well, we learned that Steven Regal keeps his twin daughters in the attic tonight. Regal back on Raw again and having a little interaction with John Laurinaitis.
Well, and let's not forget that they're, conjoined twins?
Yes,
right?
conjoined, yes.
Boy, I mean, William Regal, what a bad dude. But, you know, and this is the guy you want to be in the booth to replace Jerry the King Lawler, Damian Nelson.
Yeah, I think so. I really think, and I respect Jerry Lawler. He's great at what he does. And maybe it's not his fault, so I'm not putting blame on anybody because they are heavily produced, but I'm ready for some change, and I think William Regal, I think he could be that guy. I mean, who would have ever thought JBL would have been as good as he was on commentary? And granted, he was probably only as good as he was because he had Michael Cole to play off of in the role that Cole was playing at that time. But a lot of feedback tonight about the commentary in general was how brutal it was, especially during the matchup that was between CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, because it could have probably been made that much better if that emotional connection could have been created by somebody as good as Jim Ross. But you can talk about that till you're blue in the face. It's quite evident that WWE will not be putting Jim Ross back into that role, and they'll be moving forward. Speaking of moving...
These guys here don't even tell stories. They don't try to further what's going on. They don't try to get anyone invested in a match. All they do is shenanigans. I mean, it's Monday Night Raw shenanigans. Jerry Lawler is the funny ha-ha guy. Mm-hmm. And now you just got Michael Cole, who just goes out there and bears everybody.
Right. He's gotten better, though. And I don't mean his performance has gotten better, but there's less burying, it seems, especially as it pertains to Daniel Bryan as of late. But it's still there. It's still definitely an issue, and one that isn't helping anybody, because ultimately what's WWE trying to do? Sell tickets and pay-per-views and merchandise. And having your primary commentator speak negatively about your world heavyweight champion is not going to help in that regard. But be that as it may, one thing that is helping, and tonight I think you saw the commitment WWE has to this particular performer, Broadus Clay. The disco ball, David, new camera angles, new outfits for the Funkettes, and so many people behind, because I made it a point to not look at Broadus, but look at what was happening in the crowd behind him. Did you see all the dancing?
Absolutely. And
there
that's
you have
what it's about. See, it always proves itself. Eventually it gets there. Well, when I say so, absolutely it does. I mean, come on. When have I truly been off base on picking somebody?
Well, you ruined the Miz's career, as evident by tonight. He lost to Kofi Kingston.
Well, but that was all by chance. I didn't go out there and take him. I mean, I just picked up a card and I wound up getting this guy.
You know what? Maybe it is. It is political season tomorrow. Florida votes. Maybe you and I should have a debate. Which talents have done better, your Mighty Mouse Club or the talents that have been endorsed? Maybe we should do that at some point. And just get this out of the way, because you keep saying how great your little Mighty Mouse Club is, but I'm not sure.
We can do it 5 more minutes on this week's primetime if you want.
A real debate. I mean, I'll call Wolf Blitzer. Him and I are good friends, and if he's not available, we'll get Jack Cafferty.
I'll bring the Heroettes, and you can have Wolf Blitzer. I may lose, but I'll have a lot more fun than you will.
Broadus Clay, WWE firmly behind him. And they're, again, letting it sink in. Week 1, confusion. Week 2, more confusion. Week 3, less confusion. But subsequent weeks have been people embracing the character. And tonight was really the first night that I saw the crowd reacting in the way that I really feel they should be reacting, which is getting into it, dancing, having a little bit of fun. People, you might not like what they've done with Broadus Clay. But if you look back at, and I think you've made this point, David, you look back at the Dusty Rhodeses, you look back at the Red Roosters, you look back at some of the people that have been brought in with some of these quote-unquote silly gimmicks, the Boogeyman, for instance. Those are the things that people remember for a very long time. Flash Funk hasn't been in WWE for how long, and people are equating this to Flash Funk because they remember him being there, which means it worked.
Most wrestling fans, if you go back even to the late 80s, early 90s, when you ask about George Gray, who do you think of? Mm-hmm. Do you think of One Man Gang or the African Dream Akeem? Most will say the African Dream Akeem.
Yep. Absolutely.
People remember characters.
Absolutely. And while we got the characters tonight, we also got the wrestling. I think tonight was a pretty complete edition of WWE RAW, and they, as I said, the wrestling was there, the storyline progression was there, the big return of the Undertaker, and the setting up of many feuds going into not only Elimination Chamber but WrestleMania, including Rock versus Cena, where we saw that video about The Rock. And David Hero, you tweeted out earlier about that video that you didn't think that The Rock could be made a bigger star, but the WWE machine did it again tonight.
Oh, my gosh, they do a week in and a week out. They make their stars, their superstars, larger than life. I mean, The Rock is making $20 million a movie. He's working for Disney. I mean, he's on top of the world. G.I. Joe, Fruity Pebbles, the whole thing here and there. And you watch that video package, it's like, oh, my God, they made him larger than what he is right now, and he's already humongous.
That's going to be a huge matchup in Miami, Florida at WrestleMania, and I can't wait to be there live for it.
You know what's weird about that match with John Cena?
What's weird about that match with John Cena?
He's so wrapped up with Kane that you almost forget he's wrestling The Rock at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even though that match has been set in stone, for a year now, you got to wonder, okay, how does Cena get focused for The Rock?
And that's potentially going to be the story. I mean, we know that coming up at Elimination Chamber, there's going to be some type of matchup. You got to assume between Cena and Kane. And how do they close this up? Obviously, Cena's got to get, he's got to get the upper hand on Kane at some point, more so than he did tonight, to make this all worthwhile. But you got to have Cena doing something right now, because regardless of the booze and whatever else, he sells merchandise, he sells tickets. So if you're WWE, you got to have him on the road, you got to have him on the shows. So this is perfect for him and Kane. But I really thought, and we'll talk about the Rumble a bit later on, but I thought that matchup last night between he and Kane wasn't as good as I expected it to be.
Well, it was a fight. But, what I'm wondering is, and I tweeted this earlier, the babyface that always gets taken out by the heel always gets the revenge.
Right.
So, Zack Ryder and Kane. But if Zack Ryder does get his revenge on Kane, is it because John Cena beat Kane so badly that it will weaken Kane by the time Zack Ryder gets to him? Zack Ryder is kind of like the lost piece in this entire puzzle.
Yeah.
Because he's a guy on the sidelines right now that may not get his fire back. I mean, he may not get the opportunity to show the world that he is that superstar that can get the revenge. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays out in this whole equation.
And as we continue to talk about WrestleMania, one comment in the chat room here on Blog Talk Radio comes from a user by the name of RKO Taker, who says, I think Triple H's pat on the shoulder was him saying, hey, pal, last time we faced each other, you were carted out of the arena, and you've been gone for 9 months. You don't want it. And really, it could have, but let's not lose sight of the fact that Triple H stopped and paused as he walked out up on top of the ramp, which left the unanswered question even more unanswered by his pause. It's going to be an interesting next few weeks between those two.
Well, but unless you've been, watching and listening to us, we've been telling you for the last, couple of months it's going to be Triple H and Taker at WrestleMania. I mean, and as good as that match is going to be, is that the match that the people want again? I don't know. I mean, unless Hunter puts his career on the line, the match is absolutely meaningless.
Right. Yep. Because we've been there a couple times before, and I'm not even.
But now Hunter doesn't have to, because the challenge was made to him. He doesn't have to go and challenge Taker.
Right. And we speculated for a long time last year that Triple H would put his career on the line. So maybe that's the reason this year, or maybe the Undertaker announces that it is indeed his last match and he wants it with Triple H, which I think is justifiable.
I'm telling you, I would, and a lot of people are going to think I'm crazy, but I would much rather see Taker versus Cena than Cena versus Rock at WrestleMania.
All right. Well, as I said, we're going to be taking your phone calls later in the program, ladies and gentlemen. When we enter the phone zone, we're going to try to get to as many of you as we can. A very stacked show here tonight. And we've been talking about WWE RAW. And what I'd like to do now is welcome the rest of the broadcast team, Matthew Thomas, Dwayne Williams, and the man they call Meathead, to talk about Raw. So let's go with the Raw roundabout now and give us your summary statements on your takeaway from this week's Raw. And we'll start with you, Matthew Thomas.
The wrestling tonight, it stood out for me. It was a night of great, almost pay-per-view quality matches, in my opinion, with the Dolph Ziggler, Randy Orton, and, of course, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan. And, of course, you did have the storyline progression, to WrestleMania with Jericho, mixing it up with Punk, and, of course, the stage set for Triple H, Undertaker. But overall, just some great wrestling tonight.
And moving along, Dwayne Williams.
I enjoyed Raw as well. We got the official heel turn, if you will, from Jericho. I think that Daniel Bryan made some advances in his heel character as well. So wrestling is on point. Good show tonight, and I think that as we get closer to WrestleMania, the show is going to get better and better.
And to the man they call Meathead.
I thought that it was a really heavy show, a really packed show, but I struggled with a couple pieces in it. I don't want to give it a 100% pass. I know it was exciting. You had that initial buzz already coming in. It's the day after Royal Rumble, just like you get the day after WrestleMania. Great new things are happening. You're still living off the high of a great pay-per-view. Loved Broadus. Loved the disco ball. I mean, I wish I was Broadus Clay right now. And I'd be honest to tell you that everybody in the crowd, as Damian mentioned earlier, everybody watching, Broadus come out, they're dancing too. We all want to be that guy. And that's the thing about our wrestlers, that, a wrestler gets over with the crowd if the guys want to be them. And it was something that you wanted to do. But I have trouble with the Taker Triple H thing. I honestly don't want Taker Triple H 3. I have no interest in it. And it was nice to see Taker, but it just seemed sad and pathetic. I mean, maybe I'm just a different guy and with a different opinion, but I didn't like it.
What is the challenge with having this match a third time? Because there have been great series that we've seen as recently as Orton Christian happening over the course of several months, several weeks, great matchups. We saw Kane and Undertaker, the great series they had in 1996 and 7, where they wrestled just about every week and then on every pay-per-view. So why is it that having this match a third time is something that you're not looking forward to?
I guess it's the internet. And the internet showed me pictures of Undertaker bald. It's in the back of my head. I can't cleanse that out of my brain knowing that Taker might be wearing a wig.
You ever watch Law and Order?
Yeah, I do.
When it was on, what was it, Epitha Peterson or Patterson, whatever it is, she wore a wig because her hair was different outside. I mean, these people are playing characters. How does him being bald or having no hair bother you?
But I want to elaborate. The bald thing, it just lends itself to knowing that, man, Taker is old. Man, he is getting brittle. Isn't it? It's kind of the same feeling you get when you see Hogan and you see Flair in the ring. I just don't want to see it anymore. I feel bad for them being in the ring and knowing that they might not be able to go, that they may be I mean, I know Taker wants to get in there. He's probably taken all his time. He's conditioned himself, and he's probably ready to go, and it's not for me to judge if they're physically ready. I just don't feel it, and I wouldn't be invested in it. And like I said, it's just me. I got a different opinion. So.
All right, well, thank you for that feedback, Meathead. David Hero, if you had to summarize tonight's episode of Raw, what's the one thing, the big takeaway for you?
Oh my gosh, the big takeaway. I mean, for me, there were three important things. You had Randy Orton and Dolph Ziggler, two of the best guys, I think, in the ring right now. Dolph Ziggler coming off another big loss, a guy that can't win the big one, then loses to Randy Orton. Then you have, obviously, Jericho interfering in the Ring of Honor main event. And then you got, the Undertaker and Triple H. And I think Meathead's problem is, it's not that Meathead hates bald guys. I think the real problem is that there's no backstory as to why they would have this. I mean, let's not forget, okay? Let's take WrestleMania 17 out of the equation, because some of the wrestling fans that are going to order this pay-per-view weren't born when that match happened, okay?
Correct. Yep.
Rock and Austin headlined 2 WrestleManias.
3 in a row.
Three, okay. No one complained about that. Then you have Shawn Michaels working with Undertaker 2 straight WrestleManias. No one really complained about that. So I don't understand, I'm sure that they will have a backstory and they will create buzz for Triple H and Undertaker. And I think what the problem is that people are going to say, well, Triple H and Taker are trying to steal all the steam from the Punks, the Zigglers, the Daniel Bryan Danielsons, all the young kids. If the young kids, and I'm not pointing out anyone in particular, but if those younger group of superstars that have been given an entire year to perfect their craft and to sell tickets and sell merchandise and get fans invested were truly doing their job, they would not be dusting off Triple H and Undertaker for the third time in 12 years.
Well, I challenge you on that, David, because an institution that is known as WrestleMania has, as of late, been defined by another institution known as the Streak. So don't they have an obligation, at least in their mind, and really from the fan expectation perspective, to have The Undertaker have some match at WrestleMania?
Oh, I agree. But like I said earlier, Cena, Rock, Triple H, Taker, okay? And now you're going to throw in Jericho and Punk. Your 3 main matches really only have one person from that infamous Twitter photo from about 2 months ago.
Yeah. Well,
that's all I'm saying.
No,
and I'm not knocking Ziggler and Cody and Air Boom and Beth Phoenix and Punk. I'm just saying, Vince was going in one direction and obviously lost faith and confidence and comfort level, and now is reverting back to what he is familiar with and what he feels is going to be his meal ticket.
Well, active discussion for sure on an active WWE Raw tonight, which included an announcement of the next inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame, and that man is Mike Tyson going into the celebrity ring of the Hall of Fame. Mike Tyson just sending out a tweet a moment ago, reads as follows: "Thanks for all the love tonight. Again, I'm honored to be part of the WWE Hall of Fame." This is something that I was expecting. Once word came out, I was expecting a little bit of backlash on it. I'm happy we haven't seen any, because that means that maybe wrestling fans do actually appreciate Mike Tyson's role in the wrestling war between WWE and WCW, because it was that investment they made in Tyson at WrestleMania 14 that really put the necessary attention on WWE to allow them just 1 month after WrestleMania to, for the first time in over 80 weeks, beat WCW Nitro in the ratings. So, interesting pick in Mike Tyson, but now the interesting dynamic as well is you've got not only Ric Flair in Miami on South Beach, but you've got Mike Tyson and his Tiger.
Yeah, and that includes you, which makes me really nervous. That's shenanigans written all over it. I know Mike Tyson was going to go in the Hall of Fame, but holy crap, you're putting him in the Hall of Fame with the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, good point.
Well,
it's the East Wing.
And you got to figure The Rock. They're going to do their absolute best to make this one of the biggest star-studded WrestleManias of all time.
Yeah. Wow. And really, they have just about already, and we don't even know everything they've got in planned. Well, David, Matthew Thomas is going to join us now. We're going to talk about last night's WWE Royal Rumble, which was live on pay-per-view. And as you know by now, the winner of the Royal Rumble matchup was Sheamus. A bit of a surprise to a lot of people out there, but well-deserved in a Royal Rumble matchup that went just under 1 hour long. Saw The Miz come in at number 1 and saw the return of several stars and the surprise entrance of other stars. Notably, Hacksaw Jim Duggan involved in the Rumble, Booker T, Jerry the King Lawler, Ricardo Rodriguez replacing Alberto Del Rio, the Road Dogg Jesse James, and Karma, all in last night's Royal Rumble matchup. And oh, by the way, just about all those people were eliminated by one Cody Rhodes. This was a Royal Rumble matchup that saw Mick Foley and Santino Morello duke it out, sock to sock, fist to fist, mouth to mouth, I guess, at least in sock form. It had moments of comedy. It had moments of comedy, it had moments of action, and it had tremendous moments of drama at the very end of the matchup when it was Sheamus and Chris Jericho, the perceived winner of the matchup, the last two men standing. Matthew, the Royal Rumble last night, how did it deliver to you overall, or what were your thoughts overall of that Rumble matchup?
I enjoyed it, and I especially like the fact, too, that they gave Sheamus and Jericho some time at the very end. It seemed to add to the intrigue, add to the suspense for me. Okay, it's down to these two guys, thinking in my head the different ways they could go with whether it was a Jericho win or Sheamus win. So I really did enjoy that aspect of it. I got to say, though, a day later, one thing I'm a little sore about is I felt like I was robbed of my Funkasaurus Royal Rumble moment. I know we got him in a squash match, earlier on, but I was really looking forward to the Broadus Clay Royal Rumble moment that we never got.
But we did get a bonus matchup between Broadus and Drew McIntyre, and some people are saying, well, I put Drew on just to bury him again. Drew McIntyre had a singles match at the Royal Rumble. I think that's better than him being buried within the Royal Rumble matchup itself, and it allowed them to focus on the story with Drew and to focus on the Funkasaurus, which I agree, Matthew. I'd have much rather seen him in the Rumble, but I was just happy to see him.
Yeah, it was great to see him, regardless, but, I had all kinds of these visions of grandeur of him making his entry and having the ring by himself and bringing the dancers in, and we didn't get that.
And David Hero, your perspective on that particular matchup or the reasoning behind that unannounced match, one of two unannounced matchups, Broadus Clay versus Drew McIntyre, the chosen one.
Well, it's their way of showcasing one of their new, younger talents in Broadus Clay, and the pay-per-view Royal Rumble is always one of the bigger buy rates, so put the guy out there. I guess the reason they didn't put him in the Royal Rumble match itself is because he's been beating everybody, and if he's in the Rumble, he's going to have to show some vulnerability and toss him over the top rope. Excellent. So in order to keep him to be almost indestructible and a guy that's on a roll with a streak, you can't put him in an opportunity where something could go wrong, a la like the Shockmaster, and then ruin the entire thing altogether.
Daniel Bryan versus Mark Henry versus the Big Show for the World Heavyweight Championship. Daniel Bryan basically falls from the top of the cage but wins the matchup. Mark Henry obviously injured in that match going into it. It went only about 9 minutes. I don't think it was a disappointment, but it may not have been the match a lot of people expected, but I think it did exactly what it needed to do for the World Heavyweight Champion Daniel Bryan. David Hero, your thoughts?
Well, Daniel Bryan went out and did exactly what he had to do, and that's why I thought it was wild, him being in the cage match with the world's strongest and the world's largest, and then being put into a match with CM Punk tonight on Raw. It's like, well, that's pretty quick. I mean, you think they would have given him time to glow and use that to his advantage, but DVD, he's a top player now. I mean, he beat the two largest guys on the SmackDown brand, and you got to figure. Well, I hope it's not Sheamus and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, because it looks like a mismatch on paper.
Yeah.
But who knows what route they're going to go with that. But yeah, I mean, who would have thought a year ago we'd be saying that Daniel Bryan Danielson beat Mark Henry and the Big Show in a steel cage match to retain his heavyweight championship?
Matthew, it was CM Punk versus Dolph Ziggler for the WWE Championship with John Laurinaitis as the guest referee. CM Punk wins and retains that championship after John Laurinaitis puts himself outside the ring as a special enforcer. However, it would be him finally helping the referee make the final count and making CM Punk the winner of that matchup. Your thoughts on that excellent wrestling contest between Punk and Ziggler?
Yeah, this was easily match of the night, in my opinion. I wish... like I said last night, I wish that it hadn't been revolved around the whole Laurinaitis storyline. I wish you could have given the two guys the spotlight, just let them go with a great match without any shenanigans involved on the outside.
Shenanigans?
But, that being said, it was a great match.
CM Punk retains, David Hero, Dolph Ziggler shines, but some people are making a point of the irony between the fact that Dolph Ziggler going into the Rumble had 4 victories over CM Punk, and last night at the Rumble, CM Punk beat Dolph Ziggler 4 times.
Interesting. Maybe that was their crazy way of now making it even, a wash. But Dolph Ziggler, he's a stud, but I don't understand why they don't just give him a title run and let him see what he can do with it.
As we said, Sheamus wins the Royal Rumble. John Cena and Kane fight to a double countout, and then Zack Ryder attacked after that matchup. An anticlimactic ending to that match, but a match that continued the story between those two, with Eve being involved as well, which led to tonight. The Rumble overall, as voted on by the fans on our Facebook page, we're going to share that data with you in just a moment with Linda Kay, but some data we definitely want to share with you is we were honored to receive the award last night in the Wrestling Radio Awards as the 2011 Wrestling Broadcast Show of the Year. Had some amazing competition in that category, and all of you fans went out and voted and made the Pro Wrestling Report the Broadcast Show of the Year for the second time in its history, and we received that award in 2009 as well, getting it again this year. Monday Night Meltdown, part of that obviously, but the rest of our broadcasting, a significant role as well, and a milestone reached this weekend. Since Friday night, Pro Wrestling Report has been seen or heard by over 50,000 people just over the course of this past weekend. You talk about our exclusive coverage, looking back, flashing back to the Royal Rumble at PWRshow.com, the live stream with my play-by-play commentary of the Rumble matchup, the post-show of the Rumble, Be the Booker, Primetime, 5 more minutes, all that coverage, 50,000 viewers and listeners over the course of the weekend. Another record month on Blog Talk Radio, a record day at PWRshow.com yesterday. We thank all of you for your continued support and encourage you to follow us on our social media channels and to be sure to follow the show right here on Blog Talk Radio so that you never miss an episode. We're going to take our first time out of the evening, and when we come back, we've got updates on your feedback from the Rumble last night and Raw tonight. We're going to talk SmackDown and Impact and also take your phone calls. This is Monday Night Meltdown on Blog Talk Radio.
Monday Night Meltdown continues after this, live on Blog Talk Radio. Don't forget to follow PWR right here on Blog Talk Radio right now. Be reminded of upcoming episodes and never miss Blog Talk Radio's most popular sports show. Follow PWR now. Stop stalking your ex and be our friend on Facebook and join the tremendous worldwide discussion. Facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Report. You're listening to the most popular sports show on Blog Talk Radio, the Pro Wrestling Report. Follow us on Twitter for breaking news, live wrestling chat, and pure hilarity. Head over to twitter.com/PWR Show and be part of the conversation. Covering pro wrestling like no other, this is Monday Night Meltdown live on Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome back to the Meltdown, Monday Night Meltdown here on Blog Talk Radio. Amy and Nelson along with David Hero, the man they call Meathead, Dwayne Williams, Matthew Thomas, and the lovely Linda Kay, our social media diva. And Linda, I got to say, you guys did a tremendous job, you and Cinnamon and Spice, on primetime this past Saturday night on My 24 Milwaukee. But I want to make sure you know that I did not have anything to do with this David Hero who can't figure out how to open a door. I didn't lock him in. I was on set. I was on set, and I was sitting there all the time. I couldn't go up there and lock him out. And the accusations that you levy against me, David, are just absolutely, as Newt Gingrich would say, unacceptable.
You know what, Nelson? I know the shenanigans you're capable of. I saw the little cameras you got. You have all that technology and yada yada, and Andy getting you Jameson and little, handfuls of nuts for yourself and all that kind of crap. But that's fine. I get it. You know what? You do what you got to do, and I will get Linda and the girls back again another time, and we will wind up doing the dance.
Linda, how about you share what's going on and what our peeps have had to say on our Facebook page?
Absolutely. Well, as you know, we encourage everyone to check out the Pro Wrestling Report on Facebook, where we are always looking for your feedback. Here are the results of a few recent questions we asked on the PWR Facebook page. Question 1 was, who will win the Rumble? In third place was Randy Orton. Second place went to Sheamus. And in first place, dominating the votes, was Chris Jericho.
So everybody
I still can't believe Jericho did not walk out the Rumble as the winner.
Everybody thought Jericho, Sheamus, or was it Sheamus? Jericho and Orton that everybody thought was going to win?
Yes.
Interesting.
The votes, Jericho.
And Randy Orton, that elimination, David, was surprising because it seemed like it could have been his match last night. But it really ultimately didn't play a role in the overall finish of the matchup because he was eliminated at a time where it could sort of be buried under everything else that was going on.
Right, but he was also eliminated by Chris Jericho, the guy who eliminates the hometown babyface favorite just to make sure you get another little thin layer of underlying heat and hatred towards Y2J.
I think we asked on our Facebook page as well, Linda, an overall grade of the Rumble last night.
Yes, question 2 was the Royal Rumble a pass or fail? And it was an overall pass, with about 60% of you giving it a thumbs up and about 40% saying it failed. So although it was a pass, guys, it was simply just still pretty close there.
Interesting, and the sentiment has been, especially by the very outspoken people on our YouTube channel, and David Hero, and this is funny, I must address this. There's been some feedback on the post show that we did last night, after the live pay-per-view had happened, where the winner and all that stuff, and people are upset because we spoiled the winner because the thumbnail image is Sheamus standing on top of the apron with the WrestleMania sign behind him. How do you spoil something that's already happened? I can't wrap my hands around that. Because doesn't it become news at that point?
I think you should really ask me that, because I don't have an answer.
I just don't get it. How do you spoil something that has happened, that is broadcast in its primary market already? I just don't get it. But anyways, be that as it may, the sentiment has been from more fans than not, at least on that channel, on our YouTube channel, the Royal Rumble was not a good matchup. And I wonder, and this question must be asked, especially given the results of who they thought was going to win the Rumble on our Facebook page, was it that the Rumble was bad, or was it that their pick or their smart bet didn't win it?
Very good point there, Damien.
I make those
all right,
all the time.
And
I think it's the undercard was just lousy.
Nobody gets the Royal Rumble for the undercard.
I don't think the undercard lived up to what people had hoped for. Punk and Ziggler was good, but I think you have Broadus Clay and Drew McIntyre. Then you have a 6-man with the girls. Kane versus John Cena was average at best, and then you start off the pay-per-view with the cage match. So I think that getting to the Royal Rumble was hard for a lot of the fans because they just didn't feel it. And then when they finally get there, the Rumble was a mix of everything. I mean, you had the funny ha-has with Santino and Mick Foley, and then, of course, you have to suffer through Jinder Mahal and Jimmy Uso and some other guys, and then, of course, there's the Carlitos, Epico, and Primo, that, those guys don't have a shot in hell of winning the Royal Rumble. So it just, there was just bits and pieces of sunshine that truly got the fans involved. I mean, when Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Road Dogg get two of the largest reactions from what I heard where I was sitting for the pay-per-view, you got to wonder what the people in St. Louis were even thinking.
Excellent point. And back to you, Linda.
All right. Final question for tonight is, how would you rate tonight's Raw? And it was almost a 100% pass, and that says it right there. A lot of you, like me, felt it was a great Raw coming right out of the Rumble.
I got to say this about that. I don't disagree at all, and I'm glad that that's happened, but it's rare that we have an overwhelming opinion as such in that question. But I think, Linda,
Undertaker.
No. Actually, Linda, you put that question out during the CM Punk Daniel Bryan matchup, and that was brilliant on your part because it was almost immediate. Everybody passed, and that momentum carried through to the end of the show. I don't disagree with the rating, by the way, but I think timing makes a difference. And, David, I agree with you, the return of The Undertaker. People get excited. They get worked up. And it definitely contributed to the overall show being rated as strongly as it was. Wow. Well, Linda, I'm glad to hear that feedback from our fans on Facebook, and during all of our live broadcasts, there's typically a question out there on Facebook that we want to hear your answer to, your response to, and that will guide some of the discussion of the show here tonight, or whatever show it might be at that time. And thank you, Linda, for that. And how can you get to our Facebook page?
First, at facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Report. Join us and share your thoughts anytime. We'll give us your feedback here on the show.
All right. Thank you, Linda Kay. And now it's time to welcome Matthew Thomas to talk a little bit about last Friday's SmackDown, which saw the return of Randy Orton. Randy Orton back on SmackDown last Friday night. We'll be going into the SmackDown report in just a moment.
Monday Night Meltdown continues with a look back at last week's WWE Smackdown broadcast in the SmackDown Meltdown.
And as I said, welcome Matthew Thomas back to Pro Wrestling Report. A little Royal Rumble discussion earlier. Now it's time to hear what the highlights and lowlights of last week's SmackDown was.
As you mentioned, Damien, this saw the return of Randy Orton. And I got to say, for a SmackDown, especially the go-home show prior to a Royal Rumble, it felt a little bit disconnected and disjointed. We were told early on that the co-main event of the evening was going to be Wade Barrett versus Randy Orton, and we had Barrett coming out initially to cut a promo, and he was interrupted by Orton, and they initially start brawling on the outside, but it quickly moves into the ring, and then all of a sudden we get 4 or 5 refs coming in to break it up. We get no start to a match or anything. So it felt very unusual. You know, we were told initially there was going to be an actual match, and then all of a sudden we get the refs from the back to break it up, and then Teddy Long gets the locker room to come out and try to separate the two. Very unusual.
I thought that it was early in the show, very early for Orton to come out, because I guess it sort of gave the fans what they wanted as well. You didn't have to wait for it, but early and well done. I mean, Orton came out with intense aggression right off the bat and got his hands on Barrett and really made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I could see what they were going for, but it seemed a little odd to me, you know, billing it as an actual match and then not actually having it. And we eventually had Orton, the 5 guys from the locker room that came out to break it up. They had a deal where basically all 5 of them got RKO'd, and it looked a little unbelievable to me. You know, they basically all just stood there one after another and took the RKOs. It kind of actually reminded me of the spot from a few weeks ago on the Impact side of the tracks where Kurt Angle invaded James Storm's hometown and proceeded to knock out a line of folks on a bar stool.
Yeah.
It didn't do it for him.
And how about the Cody Rhodes report?
The Cody Rhodes report.
Got to have that every week.
Strong again. Yeah, he looked strong again this week, going up against Justin Gabriel for the second week in a row in a non-title match. It was a solid but quick match. Saw the last hope for the Rhodes family pick up another clean win over Justin Gabriel. So it was fairly quick and to the point, but Cody looking strong again.
You know, and speaking of Cody looking strong, endorsed or not, Cody Rhodes was the MVP of the Royal Rumble last night. When you look at him being the person who eliminated the most people, including all of the legends practically, in that matchup, you can't dismiss the fact that the machine, if you will, as you like to refer to it, Hero, is behind Cody Rhodes, and he had a tremendous showing in that Rumble matchup last night.
You know, Cody and The Miz both had a great Rumble. Both guys, they used their talent, and they're given the opportunity to get over in the Rumble, and I think it's exactly what Miz needed, and Cody also. So, I mean, you know, both guys picking up steam, going in the right direction, heading into WrestleMania. They just are missing their opponents. And you got to wonder, who is Cody going to have a match with? I mean, I know that people are saying Goldust, but if he's still the IC champion, I don't think Goldust is the right call.
Yeah, with Cody looking as strong as he does now, you got to wonder, I mean, would it be, I don't necessarily want to say a waste, but, you know, it would seem almost a bit odd at this point, you know, having Goldust as a WrestleMania opponent.
I'd love to see that matchup. I think it could be fun getting there, and we've got enough time to get there. I'm not sure if Cody's ready to come back, though, but he's been an advocate of this matchup as well. And let's not get it twisted. Both men would love to be a part of the WrestleMania show because, as you said earlier, David, it's shaping up to be one of the biggest WrestleManias that they've done in a long time, if not in all time. And being a part of the card equals more money, more money, more money.
Well, and of course, those guys will be there. Who's Miz going to work with? Do you think Miz goes into WrestleMania to work with R-Truth?
Possibly.
Wow. Talk about a fall from grace. Not saying R-Truth hasn't been on fire lately and he's not entertaining, but I mean, to go from headlining WrestleMania in Atlanta to now being second or third from the bottom of the card, that's a big change of pace.
Well, conversely, Sheamus and Daniel Bryan were in the dark match last year at WrestleMania. Remember that? A part of the dark match, was it a battle royal or a scramble match or whatever it was? They weren't even on the card, even though that match had been announced for WrestleMania.
And at the same time, the year before, The Miz was in a dark match in Phoenix.
No, he wasn't. He was in a tag team championship matchup he teamed with the Big Show when he was both United States and tag team champion. How quickly you forget. Trying to spin things. That's like an attack ad you just ran. Let's go back to you, Matthew. What else from SmackDown this past Friday night?
Of course, our main event was Big Show versus Mark Henry. And another kind of disjointed piece of the programming. The finish to the match actually took place off the air. Apparently, Mark Henry got counted out, but they came back from commercial and the finish had already happened. And, of course, we finished with Daniel Bryan going after Big Show with a chair, and that scramble taking place to set us up for the Rumble. But just another little portion of it that I thought it felt a little bit off.
Was that when Henry got injured? Was it at the SmackDown taping or a house show over the weekend? Because that would explain it if it happened at the SmackDown taping. He tweaked his back or something of the like. I thought it was a house show, though.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. You know, and like I said, it felt a little unusual coming.
Oh, absolutely.
Coming back from commercial, especially on a tape show like that. And the finish had taken place off air.
Yeah. Excellent point, and great coverage of SmackDown as usual from Matthew Thomas. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us and talking about World Wrestling Entertainment SmackDown this week. It's time now to talk about the efforts from TNA Impact last week. We're going to be joined by the man they call Meathead and Dwayne Williams to hear what happened over on the Spike TV side of things with Impact.
Now it's time to get the meltdown on last week's TNA Impact Wrestling, along with a preview of this Thursday's Sudden Impact Radio.
And as I said, let's go now to Meathead and Dwayne Williams. Take it away, guys.
Well, Damian, what we saw on Impact last week was a continuation of, they've got about 4 main threads going on. They've got the main event, which is the Heavyweight Championship. You got Robert Roode. You've also got James Storm, Jeff Hardy, Bully Ray, and Kurt Angle kind of mixed in there, but not enough Kurt Angle as of lately. You've also got Eric Young and ODB. That keeps moving on. You've got the number one contender now for the Knockouts title, and you've got a returning Alex Shelley, the tag team. I mean, literally, they got a lot of stuff going on. And again, not to steal on my own gimmick that I said from last Monday's Meltdown, but they keep progressing this on. Dwayne, what did you think?
You summed it up pretty good. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of different fronts. Of course, Alex Shelley making his return in the X Division. A lot of interesting things. I think Kurt Angle definitely needs to take a break here, and it's just a matter of time before Hogan resurfaces.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. We've talked about this, and again, my utter disdain for the Bischoff thing that keeps going on, especially when they, again, production value. I don't want to get on a soapbox here, but we talked about this on Sudden Impact last week, which you can still get at our website, PWRshow.com, but you can go ahead and listen to how they aired a snippet of the promo of Eric walking into a workout room, went to a commercial, then aired the same promo again from an earlier point, showed him walking in, and then showed Garrett just standing looking over the ropes. Again, I thought there was a lot of sloppy holes. I really think Impact on the whole has been a solid show, but man, just those tiny little tweaks, and especially, and like Damian mentioned, he watches the crowd. We all watch the crowd. When they show Impact this Thursday night on Spike TV, they're going to be doing the tapings live from England. The crowd will be smoking hot, and I guarantee you guys it'll be a lot better show just because of the way the crowd interacts.
I agree. I mean, clearly that they're overdubbing the cheers and the boos in the Impact Zone, and that's hopefully something that they won't have to do when they go overseas.
Dwayne, you want to give us a quick idea? I don't know. I know I don't read spoilers, but do you have a preview for what's going on this Thursday night on Sudden Impact? What's happening on Impact?
Well, I usually don't read spoilers either.
Good. All right. Well,
this is a spoil-free zone.
We do know, though, that Sting gets back into the ring. He's part of the main event in a tag team matchup, if not this week, then next week on Impact. Big show, as you said, from over in London, and this is a big move for TNA. And one thing that really needs to be commended, and I guess you give TNA credit for it, but it's really an outside of TNA effort, is the Ring Ka King debut over in India this past weekend. A very well-received show, and if you've seen it, difficult to watch in its entirety because of the language issue. But if you've seen it, it really is a hot show, and it's hot because of the crowd and a great effort by a lot of talents that you're very familiar with, including Chris Masters, Chavo Guerrero, and many others. This Thursday's Impact, I think we're going to see some of the against all odds matchups finalized, and it's going to be a good crowd. It's going to be a good crowd, and that's going to make for better TV this Thursday night on Impact Wrestling.
Agree. So, yeah, Southern Impact, right after Impact, again, they're supposed to name that main event. Plus, you already have the number one contender for the knockouts. And how many more times is Eric Young and ODB going to make out on TV?
Hey, Dave, well, it's not going to happen this week because Eric Young was left off the England TV tapings. I don't think ODB was there either. So.
No extra video.
Hey, listen, when you send Ric Flair and you send Sting and you send Hulk Hogan over to England, that eats up probably 75% of your payroll, and you can't bring everybody else.
Well, that also eats up about 75% of your airtime because it takes them that long to get to the ring.
But it worked out perfectly, David, because we got to spend some time with Robbie E., the television champion, yesterday for the GLCW show at the Horny Goat Hideaway. Yes,
learned a lot about the inner workings of TNA and how some of the shenanigans and things have been operating lately. And you know what? Here's a prime example of where, now TNA is going to have at least 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people in their buildings on TV from England. And you don't have the TV champion at the TV taping. Okay? I don't know what I'm missing there. I mean, I'm happy I got to hang out with Robbie. We had a great time. We had a great match with Scotty Tuhati at the Exposed event at the Horny Goat Hideaway yesterday. But it just goes to show you, even though they may take 10 steps forward at times, they don't just take 11 steps back. They just trip and fall down the stairs. So it's little details like that are left out. But, I'm sure that it's going to translate well on TV with Sting and Hogan and Flair and Jeff Hardy and Bubba Ray and all the other stars that were taken to the TV tapings. But, let's just see, what happens if it can pop a number and if they can sell some pay-per-views off of it.
Thursday night at Sudden Impact Radio. You can join Dwayne and Meathead for that broadcast right here on Blog Talk Radio. Be sure to follow the show and never miss an episode. And now it's time to take your phone calls, ladies and gentlemen. Many of you waiting on hold, you know how it works, but if you don't, here's a little helping hand.
The Monday Night Meltdown phone zone is now open. Give us a call live at 1-877-317-9772. And be sure to press 1 to get in where you fit in and be part of tonight's live show. We'll call on you by your area code, and when you hear it, tell us your name and where you're calling from. Then proceed with your question or comment.
All right, thank you, Mr. Announcer Man. Let's go now to the phones and try to keep them brief. And we want to try to get to as many callers as we can. And quite frankly, there are many, many of you waiting on hold right now. We'll take you in the order in which you called in. Let's first go to a caller calling us from the 661 area code. Caller from the 661. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi.
Hello?
This is Richie. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, hello?
Hello, Richie. Where are you from?
Hello.
What's your question?
Hello.
Oh, yeah. I'm calling from California. First-time caller, long-time listener.
All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. What comments do you have for us?
Well, I'll keep it brief. I have two comments. One, Damien, you mentioned about Daniel Bryan and Punk. It was a great match. And, yeah, man, talk about a match that I felt was made for Jim Ross's commentating. It would have been great, just to kind of maybe hear JR talk about how Daniel Bryan is, physically dissecting the WWE champion. That would have been really cool to hear. But I can't wait to see them again. It was great. I'm not really I don't care about the whole thing of, I can't believe they put this on free TV. It was fantastic. I enjoyed it. And I'm going to be enjoying it some more when they get more time. Very smart how they ended it, because, of course, you definitely didn't want to have a clean win. So props to Jericho. They're definitely setting up that WrestleMania match. That's going to be great. And my other comment has to do with Taker and Triple H. It's a bittersweet thing for me. It's glad to see Taker back. I'm not complaining if they have a third match, but I don't know. I mean, it was a spot fest last year, in my opinion. It was great, but it was mostly just a spot fest. And I think the one thing that would intrigue me personally was maybe if you put HBK as a special guest referee, that may be a lot of stipulation, but I think the history and storyline is there.
Yeah, Richie, I would agree. That could add some intrigue to that matchup. And talk about star power. David Hero, you mentioned it earlier. This could be the most stacked WrestleMania that we've seen in a very long time. On just name value alone.
You're bringing out a bunch of the guys from the Attitude Era. I mean, they're talking about bringing back a gimmick battle royal, which could be interesting, which would make perfect sense because of the reaction they got with Road Dogg and Hacksaw yesterday, and they have a lot of other legends under contract.
Let's go to our next caller, who's calling us from the 520 area code. Caller, you're live. What's your name and city?
Alfred, Tucson, Arizona. I got a call.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, one thing that really kind of scared me was the Sheamus segment at the beginning of the show. It kind of, I don't want them to jam Sheamus down our throat, knowing that he just won the Royal Rumble. We really didn't need him in that segment.
Really? It was. I thought it was perfect because you had both champions standing there. So why wouldn't Sheamus come out and address them both? I thought it was perfect, actually. I was surprised at how brilliantly that played out. But whether or not he was needed, I think the WWE needed it to put him over as the Rumble winner and to get him in the face of both champions. And let's not forget, I think we were told Sheamus was going to be picking who he was going to face at WrestleMania tonight. That did not happen. So we still have that story which is developing, but you got to imagine that's going to happen over on the SmackDown side of things.
Yeah, you got me there, but one thing, if you take in consideration how much of a year difference makes, the Daniel Bryan Sheamus feud wasn't good enough to make the show over a gimmick, mixed tag team match, and now we might be seeing it as a major world title match.
Exactly, and that was a point we made earlier, and I got to wonder if WWE had any appreciation at all for Daniel Bryan this time last year, because you got to think not. And Sheamus went from a high-profile matchup with Triple H at WrestleMania 26 to the opening match at 27. Now, let's not forget, The Rock had a 20-minute promo at WrestleMania. That could have been their matchup. It could have just been a victim of time. There may not have been more to it, but it is true. What a difference a year makes, because Daniel Bryan and Sheamus are going to be prominent pieces, it seems, at least at this point, at WrestleMania. Thank you for that call from Arizona. Let's go to our next caller, who is coming to us from the 269 area code. Caller from the 269, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's David from Michigan.
Hey, David.
Hey, I don't know if you guys remember last year, but I said at WrestleMania, I said that David Hero ruined my night because he tweeted out that Sheamus and Daniel Bryan match was canceled.
Yeah.
And now, a year later, we might get probably be the first match anyway, but Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus again for the world title. And one more question I have for you guys. What happens at WrestleMania 29 if Undertaker does retire, which everyone's saying that he will? So what happens next year? What's to look forward to, really?
That's a great question, David, from out in Michigan, and one that maybe, I think that could be worthy of discussing on a future episode of Primetime, David Hero, but we've been talking about how stacked this year's WrestleMania is. What do you do next year? Because a lot of that stacking is gone, and they haven't proven over the last 2 years that they can build stars to the point and to the level to be as big as some of these stars we've been talking about. There won't be another Rock next year, maybe, but doubtful. There won't be another Cena next year.
There could be a 316 next year.
Yeah.
Austin still has one more match left in him. And it's going to happen either next year in New York or the following year in Dallas.
Let's go to our next caller.
Think about it.
Don, think about it.
If you think about it, Vinnie Mac, last year he brought back The Rock. This year The Rock is in the main event. Now he brings back Taker. Then who knows, maybe next year he'll bring back Austin or Brock Lesnar. He has lots of pieces to play with. And, I wouldn't be that concerned yet.
Let's go to our next caller, who's coming to us from the 732 area code. Caller from the 732. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, guys. It's Chris from New Jersey. I have a question. I know it hasn't been confirmed yet, but what about the Money in the Bank at WrestleMania?
Thank you very much for that call. There have been reports out there that the Money in the Bank match will return to WrestleMania this year, and the pay-per-view may or may not happen. I gotta wonder if that's the case, because WrestleMania no longer needs Money in the Bank, especially this year it doesn't. But that pay-per-view is a great pay-per-view concept. And I'm not just talking about because of Punk and Cena from Chicago last year, but a great concept that I think would be a mistake to walk away from in a pay-per-view form. Thank you for that call, Chris, out in New Jersey. Let's continue on the phones. Let's go to a caller calling us from the 773 area code. Caller, you're live from the 773.
Yes, this is Wazam Jones from Chicago, Illinois.
Hello.
Yes, so I want to say that, I thought Raw was a very good show. I thought the match between CM Punk and Daniel Bryan was the best match of the night. And, they basically setting up Chris Jericho and CM Punk for WrestleMania in the future. And I also, basically what I want to talk about is, Undertaker and Triple H. I don't think that this match is going to have that buzz that it had, the last WrestleMania. I'm just getting that gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just me personally, because, part of the reason why it's probably not going to have that big buzz like it had last year, because, we already synced it. And, a lot of WrestleMania, the hype is going to be around The Rock and John Cena.
Right.
And also, I'm just wondering, what type of match are these guys going to have? I'm not saying they're not going to have a good match. I'm not saying that the match won't be great. I'm just wondering, what type of match are these guys going to have? What kind of match can these guys have? That's just me. I'm just wondering. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and it's a good thing to wonder. But David, you made the point last year that if you're the Undertaker and if you're at this point in your career, you want to be in there with somebody who is going to take care of things and take care of you, and somebody you could have a good match with. And I'm not sure, if not Triple H at this point, who it would be. You mentioned Cena, you mentioned even maybe Jericho, and those scenarios could still play out, by the way. There's by no means is it final, however it probably is, but at least from what we got on Raw tonight, is it final that it's going to be Triple H and Taker. But I think that really could be the best way to go this year, given where we're going with other things already announced for Mania, or at least seemingly happening for Mania.
If this is going to be Undertaker's last match, if he's going to run it to 20-0 at WrestleMania, he wants it to be with somebody that he knows walking in and walking out of WrestleMania, he will have a solid match with.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to take that chance with any of these younger kids right now. There's no way. He has way too much to lose. You're only as good as your last match. He is worried about his legacy now, which is obviously, I would say the way his legacy is going to end. I mean, there's nobody left. There's no one out there that he could actually work with besides Triple H and make it believable that other person has a chance of winning.
Let's go to our next phone caller, calling us from the 407 area code. Caller from the Orlando area. What is your name?
Glenn from Orlando.
Hello, Glenn.
Hello, David Hero.
Hey, my man.
If you haven't checked Twitter, check it. WrestleMania 30 will not be in Dallas, Texas, because the deal fell through. Hashtag correction.
Well, actually, hashtag correction for you. The deal has not fallen through. It's probably going to be in Dallas. They're probably going to reconfigure the date so that they can get around some of the conflicts that are there. And we'll all find out together come next year. So that's still in play.
Touche. I have a question for both of you.
Go ahead.
What do you think about the concept of bringing back the King of the Ring concept and the winner of the King of the Ring? The winner of the King of the Ring faces Taker at Mania.
Interesting. I'm a fan of the King of the Ring concept. For a couple of years it got diluted, but I think it's more than a special episode of Raw. because if done properly, and maybe David Hero, maybe this is the way to further elevate some of those young guys that you reference. And again, I think clarification is needed. When you say young guys, it's simply reflecting their experience and their age, comparatively speaking, to the Rock's, Austin, Cena's, Undertaker's, Triple H's, HBK's, Jericho's, and whatnot in the world. But you can definitely create some stars in that King of the Ring scenario. And we do know that there is at least one pay-per-view that has some questions over what its name and concept will be this year. Maybe they are going to do that because there was a feature on WWE.com recently about the King of the Ring and whether or not it should come back. Let's go to our next caller, who's calling us from the 563 area code. Caller from the 563, you're live.
How you guys doing? This
Tremendous.
is Trina from Davenport.
Hey, Trina.
I just want to say congratulations
on
your newest award.
Thank you so much.
Well deserved. But couple comments. One, is it just me or Taker did not look really good? Like he looked kind of sickly to me.
I thought he looked great. I mean, maybe it was the
he's a dead man.
Well, I know he's a dead man, but he didn't have his phenom. You know what I'm saying? I didn't feel it.
I mean, I don't know if we had enough time to truly dissect the Undertaker while he was there, and they never really turned the lights up, so you never really got to get a good look at him. I think that he looked fine. He didn't look any different to me, aside from some hair that was a little different, but didn't look that much different to me than the last time we saw him, which, happened to be getting carted out of WrestleMania on a golf cart. But be that as it may, I wouldn't worry at all about the Undertaker's physical condition at this point. Let's take another caller, and this caller comes to us from the 504 down in the New Orleans area. Caller, what's your name? Well, that
bless you.
How about a caller from the 816? Caller from the 816, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, how you guys doing? This is Giovanni from Kansas City. Just got back from the Sprint Center.
Oh, tremendous. How was Raw tonight from a live event perspective?
It was undescribable, It's different when you look at it from a TV and, when you look at it live. When you look at it live, when you're there, you can actually feel the heat of the pyrotechnics and feel and hear every single person in the arena.
So, if you had to judge the biggest reactions that happened tonight, the three biggest names that got the biggest reactions from the crowd, good or bad, who would they be?
Johnny Ace,
really?
Undertaker, and H.
Johnny Ace, Undertaker, and Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
The names not listed: Randy Orton, John Cena, Sheamus, CM Punk. They felt
the three guys that ended the show got the best reaction. Yeah. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yep. And the matchup live between CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, how was your reaction and the live event reaction or the live crowd reaction in Kansas City to that matchup?
I didn't really pay that much attention. I was too busy looking for some sort of vendor or whatever. But here's the thing, though.
You were too busy dancing. That's what it was.
Yeah. Here's the thing about the Divas match, still. I want to comment about that. It's here's how short it was. It was I got up as soon as Kelly Kelly came out, right? Well, not Kelly Kelly, Beth Phoenix, I think. And I was going over to the concession stand. Not even halfway there, it was over.
It was a quick match on TV, obviously, as well. But I think the more interesting fact is you chose that match to get up and go and take a break, which a lot of people have joked about Divas matches being that matchup for a while. But the dominance of Beth Phoenix can't be dismissed because she had dominance last night and had dominance tonight, both in matchups on WWE television. Overall, Kansas City live Raw, we heard who the biggest reactions were for. Your overall impression, was it a good event? Was it worth it? Did you enjoy yourself at Raw tonight?
Absolutely. It was #tremendous.
Absolutely great, and I think that's all that matters. Thank you so much, Giovanni from Kansas City, for that phone call. Just got a few more moments here. We got to only be able to take one more phone call. I appreciate and apologize to those of you that are waiting on hold and have been waiting on hold for a while. But we will get to one more caller here, and this caller comes to us from the 414 area code. Caller from the Milwaukee area. What's your name, and what do you have for us?
Hey, what's up, guys? This is James.
Hey
from the best city in the world, of course. But
Milwaukee.
What was that?
Milwaukee.
Yeah. So, well, my first comment is that my fiance got me tickets to the Elimination Chamber coming to Milwaukee, and my first reaction to that was, "Oh wow, honey, you got me tickets to see Disney on Ice." So
nice.
She knows that I'm a big pro wrestling fan. So the first thing I said to her was like, "Where are the tickets to Orlando to see the best wrestling show in the world?" So, my second comment is, the match tonight between CM Punk and
Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan. I keep forgetting that they flopped his name on WWE from ROH. I keep saying it wrong.
Yeah.
But didn't it seem a little like you see these guys in ROH and now you see them in WWE? It seemed like they're not how they were in ROH. I mean, if you put these two guys in an ROH match, it would have been more pop to it. It wasn't. It was just more a little bit stale. It was your average suplexes, your average, Well,
I will say this about that. Firstly, in ROH, they would have had 30 to 45 minutes, if not an hour, to go and deliver, and they would have just been doing a lot of very, very good wrestling, a lot of stiff wrestling, and not necessarily high spots, but it would have been a completely different match. I think that the match they gave tonight and the match that CM Punk gave last night with Dolph Ziggler is almost all that the WWE audience can handle at this point, because as much as people talk about how much they want real wrestling, in mass, the mass audience doesn't want real wrestling. They want little pockets of things. They want good wrestling. They want wrestling matchups, but they don't want Broadways. They don't want matches that go forever. And again, I'm talking about all fans in mass. I'm not talking about one pocket, whether it be the internet or casual or mainstream, whatever it might be. So to keep the show flowing, I think that they give as much time as they can to these matchups and deliver what they can. There's been great matches on Raw in the past. They are few and far between, and that keeps them special and keeps people talking about them. But this tonight was more of a opportunity to get the whole Jericho thing in there than a matchup really between CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, because they both got their own things to worry about. I'm intrigued by the future, and especially if we get an opportunity to see that matchup again. And I can't imagine that match doesn't exist already from their days in Ring of Honor.
Right, which, I mean, you can see it happening again in a bigger way. But the sucky part about it is you are right. They're focused on, what the general audience want, not what, the little, huge, extreme wrestling fans want. They want what the big population wants. And that's what sucks for me going into the Elimination Chamber is that I know that I'm not going to see things that I haven't seen before in the ring. I'm going to see the regular stuff. I'm going to see what has been done before. I'm not going to see a person falling off top of the chamber. I know I'm not going to see that. So
let us challenge you with this. Walk into it with an open mind. Walk into it not hoping you do see something or knowing you won't see something, but go into it and enjoy the show. And whatever it, or don't enjoy it, but do so on the laurels of whatever the show delivered, and I think it'll be a better experience overall. I like the fact that you call it Disney on Ice, but Disney on Ice makes a lot of money, and so is WWE. So the other companies that focus more so on wrestling, they're not making as much money as the machine is. So that's the hard reality of it. So they're going to appeal to that audience that is keeping them afloat and keeping them financially successful. But I think Elimination Chamber is going to be a dynamic pay-per-view in the way that they still have, as David mentioned earlier, a lot to build for WrestleMania. So I think that it's got the potential to be pretty dang on good. I know that tickets are moving very good for that show, which is an indication of the interest level of the fans out there, and I think it's going to be a worthwhile card.
Right. And one more thing is that I'm excited that, she got me tickets right in the camera angle, so I'm going to see how fast they're going to take my WWE Series TNA sign off there So looking forward to that.
On the back, have a Nelson family sign, and you can flip it over whenever they come by.
You know what? Just for you guys, I'm going to put PWR Show Rocks.
So tremendous. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for the call from our hometown of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We appreciate all of you that have joined us on the phones tonight. Sorry we couldn't get to everybody, but literally we are stacked very deep, and we are 16 minutes over our planned end time for the show here tonight. David Hero, in summary, The Undertaker returns to Raw. Sheamus wins the Royal Rumble. Daniel Bryan retains the World Heavyweight Championship. CM Punk retains the WWE Championship. And nipping at his heels is Chris Jericho. Will The Undertaker and Triple H wrestle one another again at WrestleMania? And who will Sheamus challenge? For which championship? All those questions yet to be answered on WWE television going forward over the next few weeks. We'll be back again right here on Blog Talk Radio Thursday night for Sudden Impact Radio, and then Friday, Saturday for Primetime and 5 more minutes. So, for David Hero, for Dwayne Williams, for Matthew Thomas, the man they call Meathead, and Linda Kay, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for joining us here live on Blog Talk Radio and the Pro Wrestling Report for Monday Night Meltdown. We'll see you next week.
Don't forget to follow PWR right here on Blog Talk Radio right now. Be reminded of upcoming episodes and never miss Blog Talk Radio's most popular sports show. Follow PWR now.